There is a debate that happens every year. And some of you may know about it. Others, that not just come to worship may not notice. It's so subtle. The debate happens between what Sunday this is, whether it's going to be Palm Sunday and be something different about God's glory, about the light, the enlightenment of the world, about God's pure, innocent Messiah coming. That's a good one, I see. Or is it going to be a Sunday of Lent? We're going to see it as part of the 40 days and somewhat of the humiliation, the humility of Jesus, the humility of us, in light of our King, but in a different way. Purple for royalty, but purple also in times of agony. The idea that purple and bruising goes together. Which leads me to this, and you'll apologize. I apologize, I do not have scarlet, but I have red. The color of blood, the color of change, the color of God's power poured out. Red and scarlet is the color of martyrdom and passion. Keep these three in mind. I'm going to sing a song for you, so just prepare. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the morning light. Bit of a throwback, that one. But in that song, the hero described becomes one who's on a white horse, one who is fresh from the fight, one who is coming and has all the mystique of someone powerful and strong and smooth, which is kind of odd. The idea that our heroes to us come to us in such a strong and powerful way is one way that we can think of God. The idea of an innocent power, the idea of a just power coming to us and wielding the powers of the earth to bring about the innocence that we so long for the time of peace and justice. But often the leaders we get, often those who are raised up in our world are not exactly like this. If I were to name a few for you, Augustus, Caesar, Jesus, Biden, Trump, Churchill, Hitler, Stalin, Lincoln, the list goes on and on. And each and every era, there are leaders that are raised up that people believe will bring about the justice of God and bring about a new era of peace. Even in our own tradition, we have Leo X, the Pope that was a little sordid, and Luther. And of course, we know how the story goes, where the Protestants get to say that the Catholics were wrong, the Catholics get to say they were wrong, and the whole cycle starts over again. It is fighting one after the other. Who has more power than the other? Who is more right and just? I think Jesus comes as a different sort of leader. At the beginning of Palm Sunday, we shout a word that we say most Sundays, but it might go unattended because we don't think about it until today, and that word is Hosanna. Hosanna can be a word of praise. It is often something to acclaim someone who has come as a king, who has come to save us, some sort of Messiah, someone that is going to bring power and justice. But conversely, it can also be a word to describe pleas for help and for deliverance, pleas for mercy. You can see how those go hand in hand. Of course, if we walk back to that time, as we've just read, the people gathered on the road there had heard for a long time and long awaited a righteousness to come into the world, for God's leader, the one they had hoped for, to come and turn everything on its end and say that those who were in power unjustly should come down and everyone else be raised up, the innocent, the people who were oppressed, and the people who were more righteous in God's sight. We could easily stop there and think about that reversal of roles, if it were not for the very fact that we understand that God loves all people. Even those that God comes to say, you're not doing the right thing, and hold them to accountability, get some measure of love and grace, even to the way that some of us might think they don't deserve it. But then if we say that about some people, why aren't we also seeing that we may not be worthy or deserving of grace either? In truth, the level of love is one that keeps everyone on the same plane. Because God's justice is not our justice. God's leadership is not our leadership. God's power. Let's think about that. So many elements in the world can be so powerful for us. A little bit of rain can water and can nourish, but too much and it will wash everything away. It can erode everything into the sea. A little bit of earth can grow and be something to stand on firmly, but enough of it and it can wipe out houses. And I know what I'm talking about, Santa Barbara. Hey there, Kate. Santa Barbara has quite a few landslides. Let's not even talk about fire in terms of the fact that, yes, it can warm, yes, it can light, but most of all, it is destructive and hard to contain. Surely the one who could hold all these powers together and be able to utilize them for good must be God. And we know that biblically. But then, why is this Messiah that has come to us not bringing all the forces to claim a throne that is rightfully his ancestor David's? Why is God bringing a Messiah that doesn't stop just at kingship, but at martyrdom and life-giving? Sometimes I think we have to move on from the idea of justice being one of power and seeing it in a different way. Line the other purple. Has anyone heard of James Cone? Yeah. James Cone is a black liberation theologian who wrote one of his most recent books called The Cross and the Lynching Tree, one in which the power of God is spelled out in a very, very different way. Because in the truth, when we look at the history of slavery in America and the history of punishment of black people for being nothing but those that were seen as lower down in the spectrum, we have to wonder what that sense of deliverance, that sense of mercy, that cry of Hosanna might be from those who are waiting to be delivered. It's united with all of us wanting God's reign to come, but in a violence, continual violence, or perhaps power is given another way. James Cone remarks in this way that the power of God is through powerless love. Hear that again, powerless love. That the idea that the power of God is not poured out in some it's death-defying, we'll get there next week, but in not some way that is heroic and comes on a white horse to free everybody and with a hammer to put people down, but instead to bind them together. Jesus comes to Jerusalem and he gets a little angry when he gets there. Of course, he's acclaimed on the road by the people waiting for him, but then what does he do? He flips some tables. And then, of course, he yells at a fig tree and kills it for no reason. It's kind of strange. But that wrath isn't poured out in the end. Instead, what happens is Jesus is led away to a place where he is silent. And where the bonds that he has had with those around him and the bonds that bind him are not necessarily honored by those people who flee from him. But is it up to them to fulfill love? Powerless love is something that we think might not be powerful enough in this world. Often it takes quite a bit of time to move things. But the thing is that through powerless God gives us a way through excuse me, have a little passion about this. Through the passion of this life, through those things that make us wonder whether God's justice is truly being done. And truly it gives us a person to actually focus on as God's Messiah and the only one who can bring about that peace and that justice that we are looking for. We have powerless love. Thanks be to God.